In the mid-1990s, something strange happened in the executive car market. Lancia, a brand known for mixing comfort with performance, decided to build a quiet, turbocharged sedan that few people noticed. But maybe they should have. This was the Lancia Kappa 2.016V Turbo, and it had more going on than it looked. The Lancia Kappa was introduced in 1994 as a replacement for the Lancia Thema. It was designed to compete with other big sedans like the BMW 5 Series and the Mercedes-Benz E-Class. Lancia built it in 3 versions: a 4-door sedan, a 5-door station wagon, and a 2-door coupe. The sedan design came from Ercole Spada at the IDA Institute. The estate version was designed and built by Pininfarina. The coupe came from Enrico Fumia and the Centro-style Lancia design team. The Kappa 2.016V Turbo was powered by a 2.0-liter inline-4 engine with 16 valves and a turbocharger. The engine was called the 838A4.000. It made 205 horsepower at 5,600 revolutions per minute and 298 newton meters of torque at 2,750 revolutions per minute. That gave it strong performance for a front-wheel drive sedan. The turbocharged engine was paired with a 5-speed manual transmission. The Lancia Kappa 2.016V Turbo could go from 0 to 100 km per hour or 62 miles per hour in 7.3 seconds. Its top speed was 235 km per hour, which is 146 miles per hour. Even though it was fast, it remained fairly quiet and smooth, which made it feel more like a long-distance cruiser than a sports sedan. The car used a traditional suspension setup: McPherson struts in the front and a wishbone system in the rear. Steering was handled by a rack and pinion setup with power assist. The brakes included ventilated discs in the front and solid discs in the back. The Kappa Turbo also came with safety features like anti-lock brakes, airbags for both the driver and passenger, and seatbelt pretensioners. The sedan measured 4,687 millimeters long, 1,826 millimeters wide, and 1,462 millimeters tall. The wheelbase was 2,700 millimeters, and it weighed around 3,230 pounds. The fuel tank held 70 liters, and the trunk had room for 525 liters of cargo. That made the Kappa good for long trips across Europe, even if you brought luggage for the whole family. Lancia only made the 2.016V turbo version until 1998. After that, it was replaced by a new 2.0-liter 5-cylinder turbocharged engine that made 220 horsepower. The Kappa itself stayed on the market until 2000, when it was replaced by the more modern Lancia Thesis. Even though it was not a sales success, the Kappa 2.016V Turbo is now something of a hidden treasure for people who like under-the-radar cars with good performance. It was fast, well-built, and came from a time when Lancia still aimed for a mix of engineering and elegance, just without shouting about it. In the late 1990s, something quiet but powerful was moving through Japanese streets. It looked like a regular 4-door sedan. It had comfortable seats, a polished interior, and smooth lines. But under the hood, it carried something much more serious. This was not your average family car. This was the 1997 Toyota Aristo V300, and it had a secret shared with the famous Toyota Supra. The 1997 Toyota Aristo V300, also known by its chassis code JZS161, was part of Toyota's second-generation Aristo lineup. It was sold only in Japan, while its American twin, the Lexus GS300 and GS400, went to the international market. Both cars were built on the same S160 platform, but the Aristo V300 came with something special. It had the 2JZ GTE engine, the same 3.0-liter twin-turbocharged inline-6 used in the Toyota Supra RZ. This engine was known for its strong power and ability to handle upgrades without falling apart. In this case, the Aristo made 276 horsepower at 5,600 revolutions per minute and 332 pound-feet of torque at 3,600 revolutions per minute. This engine used 2 turbochargers in a sequential system. One started at low speeds, and the second kicked in at higher speeds. This made driving smooth, but still very fast. Toyota also added something called variable valve timing with intelligence, or VVTi, which helped the car be more efficient while still keeping its power. The Aristo V300 used a 4-speed automatic transmission and was rear-wheel drive. All of this gave it impressive performance for a luxury car. It could go from 0 to 100 kilometers per hour or 62 miles per hour in around 5.5 seconds. It could reach a top speed of 180 kilometers per hour or 112 miles per hour, which was the legal limit in Japan. The Aristo was not just about power. Toyota designed the car with a focus on balance and comfort. The engine sat farther back than usual, which helped with weight distribution and better handling. It used a double wishbone suspension in the front and rear, making the ride smooth but sharp in turns. Ventilated disc brakes gave strong stopping power, and the car rolled on 225/55 R16 tires. It weighed about 3,700 pounds and measured 189 inches long, 70 inches wide, and 56 inches tall. Inside, the Aristo V300 had many features that made it feel premium. It included power seats, automatic climate control, a wood-grain dashboard, and a high-quality sound system. Some versions also had a sunroof and navigation system. There was also a special trim called the Vertex Edition, which came with more stylish parts inside and outside. Safety features included anti-lock brakes, traction control, and vehicle stability control. Front airbags and strong side impact door beams added protection. Even today, the Aristo V300 is popular with car fans, especially those who want the performance of a Supra in the body of a luxury sedan. It was a car built for Japan, but people around the world still talk about it. In the early 1990s, Alfa Romeo wanted to make a sedan that looked like it belonged in a parking lot, but drove like it came straight from a rally stage. What came out of that plan was a car that borrowed parts from a rally-winning hatchback, packed it into a family-sized body, and hoped no one would notice. They called it the Alfa Romeo 155 Q4. The Alfa Romeo 155 Q4 was built between 1992 and 1998. It was not just another sedan from Italy, it was a turbocharged all-wheel drive machine. Underneath, it shared its engine and drivetrain with the Lancia Delta Integral, one of the most famous rally cars of the time. The engine was a 2.0-liter inline-4, turbocharged, and made 190 horsepower at 6,000 revolutions per minute. It also produced 214 pound-feet of torque at 2,500 revolutions per minute. That meant quick response and strong pulling power even at low speeds. This engine was paired with a 5-speed manual gearbox and a permanent all-wheel drive system. The drivetrain used 3 differentials, an open front differential, a center differential with a Ferguson viscous coupling, and a rear differential with a Torsen self-locking unit. Together, these gave the 155 Q4 great grip in corners and wet conditions. The car could go from 0 to 100 kilometers per hour or 62 miles per hour in 7 seconds. Its top speed was 225 kilometers per hour or about 140 miles per hour. Even though it looks square and simple, the Alfa Romeo 155 had an aerodynamic body with a drag coefficient of 0.29. It was built on the Fiat Group's Type 3 platform, which it shared with the Lancia Delta and Fiat Tempra. But the Q4 version had a unique setup underneath. The suspension was independent on all 4 corners, and the brakes were strong disc brakes on both the front and rear wheels. Inside, the car had a mix of comfort and performance. The seats were sporty and gave support during fast driving. There was climate control, power windows, and a clear, simple dashboard. It felt like a car that could take you to work on Monday and a mountain road on Sunday. Production of the Alfa Romeo 155 Q4 was limited. Only 2,591 units were built, making it one of the rarest models in the 155 lineup. That rarity grew even more over time, especially in countries like the United Kingdom, where only a few left-hand drive models were sold. One of the strangest moments in the 155 Q4's history happened in 1992, when a specially tuned version went to the Bonneville Salt Flats in the United States. There, it set a world record for turbocharged engines under 2.0 liters by reaching a speed of 293 kilometers per hour, or 182 miles per hour. The 155 Q4 did not just live in the shadow of the Lancia Delta Integrale. It carried its spirit into a different shape and proved that even a sedan could have a wild side if it had the right parts underneath. In the mid-1990s, a French car showed up with 2 turbochargers, a manual transmission, and all-wheel drive, trying to take on the big names from Germany. It was fast, heavy, and expensive. But even with all that power, barely anyone bought it. This is the strange story of the Renault Safrane Biturbo, a car that aimed high but quietly disappeared. The Renault Safrane was supposed to be France's answer to cars like the BMW 5 Series and the Mercedes-Benz E-Class. Renault launched the Safrane in 1992, building it in Sandouville, a city in France near Le Havre. It was large, smooth, and focused on comfort. But by 1994, Renault decided it was time to make something faster, something that would make people forget about German sedans for a moment. That new idea became the Renault Safrane Biturbo. Renault teamed up with 2 companies from Germany. One was Hartke, which helped tune the engine. The other was Irmscher, which worked on the styling and interior. The car used a 3.0-liter PRV V6 engine, the same base engine found in the Alpine A610, but this time it had 2 KKK turbochargers. The result was 268 horsepower and 268 pound-feet of torque. That was a lot for a French car in the mid-1990s. To handle all this power, Renault gave the Safrane Biturbo a full-time all-wheel drive system and a 5-speed manual transmission. There was no automatic option because, at that time, no automatic gearbox could handle that much power with all-wheel drive. The Biturbo could go from 0 to 100 kilometers per hour, or about 0 to 62 miles per hour in around 7.2 seconds. It had a top speed of 155 miles per hour. It also came with 17-inch alloy wheels, dual exhaust pipes, and a big rear wing. The car was heavy, over 4,000 pounds, but it still moved fast. Renault also gave the car an electronic suspension system made by Bogasax. This helped the ride feel smoother and more controlled. Inside, the Biturbo was offered in 2 trims, RXE and Baccarat. The Baccarat was more luxurious, with leather seats and wood trim. Still, it was never meant to be a race car. It was more like a fast luxury sedan that could surprise people at a red light. Even with all these features, the Safrane Biturbo did not sell well. It was only sold in continental Europe, and the lack of an automatic transmission hurt sales. Most buyers in this class wanted an automatic. They also wanted a V8 engine, which this car did not have. Renault stopped production in 1996 after making only 806 units. Today, the Renault Safrane Biturbo is almost forgotten, but for those who know about it, it is one of the boldest cars Renault ever built. A strange mix of French design and German tuning, it came out of nowhere and left just as quickly.